Good evening, everybody. My name's Tarali, and I'm going to welcome you back to the Midnight Run of World of Warcraft Legion. Once again, we're in the beta. Today, we're going to be showing off the Survival Hunter. They've changed this spec a lot since Warlords of Draenor, and in World of Warcraft in general, it's changed quite a bit. Now, what used to be ranged only for hunters has now become a melee-oriented spec. So it's going to be interesting to see how they balance this out with the other gameplay of the hunters, and hopefully it'll feel more like just a hunter who doesn't use a bow as opposed to another warrior or a less powerful rogue, something like that. So first, we are always, as always, we're going to start with the specialization window where it says survival, damage, primary stat is agility, which will always be the case no matter what your spec is. Up here we have a focus bar and a health bar, of course, as well as our wolf having a focus bar and a health bar, respectively. So, the big thing here is Mongoose Bite. Mongoose Bite down here on my bar has 3 charges. It requires a 2-handed melee weapon, attempts to sever the target's limbs with a brutal attack that deals 16,949 physical damage and grants you Mongoose Fury. Mongoose Fury increases Mongoose Bite damage by 50% for 12 seconds, stacking up to 6 times. Successive attacks do not increase the duration. So, even though you get a damage bonus based upon hitting this as many times as possible, it does not actually increase the duration of it. The stack does not refresh, the buff doesn't refresh every time you hit Mongoose Bite with it still active. So it's going to be very important to manage that properly to get the most amount of damage that you can. And basically, that pretty much involves just hitting it as often as possible to stack it up to as high as you can get before the buff wears off. Now, they do give you a bunch of things that help you utilize this, and I'll show you that as we move through the talents and abilities. Now, the next one we have here is Lacerate, which, reminds me of a druid ability that they had or have. I'm not sure. I haven't looked at the druids yet, but when the druid video comes around, I will be sure to let you know. Lacerate. Requires 2 on melee weapon, as do pretty much all of the skills. Tears a bleeding wound in the target, dealing 45,012 damage, physical damage, over 12 seconds. So this is a bleed. It's a damage over time sort of ability. It's got a 10-second cooldown. I have it on my bar here. I might move it based upon that and how that works. But we'll see. I haven't really played around too much with it yet. But it's interesting. The playstyle is definitely different than what you might think of before. Now, the third ability in this column is Carve. It's a melee attack that spends focus to hit all targets in front of you. So this is your main AoE kind of like damaging ability. I don't even have it on my bar, do I? Wing Clip, Raptor Strike, Harpoon, Hatchet. So I need to put Carve down here, obviously. So we'll put Carve. Oh no, Carve is up there. It's up in the top spot here. But it's been changed to Butchery due to a talent that I will get into. So Carve, basically, with Butchery, it strikes all nearby enemies at a flurry of strikes, dealing 20,677 physical damage to each target. So that's going to be, a good AoE ability. It's got 3 charges, similarly to Mongoose Bite. So it's really going to give you a lot of AoE damage. I think this is kind of the ability that, marksmanship hunters might use volley or something like that, which I think is still in the talent tree and still an option, but we'll see when we get to the talents, like I said. But it's your AoE, like your main AoE ability. Similar to the multi-strike would be the AoE ability for any of the other hunters. So now the next one we got is Flanking Strike, attack where you and your pet attack together. This is kind of neat. It's a coordinated attack to the target while you deal a bunch of damage. Your pet deals a bunch of damage. If the target is attacking you, your pet's attack deals 50% increased damage and 400% increased threat. Otherwise, your attack will deal 50% increased damage. So if the guy's attacking your pet, you flank him, do more damage. If he's attacking you, your pet tries to pull aggro with 400% more threat and deals extra damage. That's going to be very useful in the survivability of the survival hunter, because you're still going to want your pet to tank for you, even though you're not a beast mastery hunter and you're not a marksman. Whereas marksman, you can talent right out of even having a pet. So, I mean, it's going to be different from both of those, because you're going to be right up there in the thick of things with your pet. But it's similar in the fact that you still want your pet to take the aggro. The second ability here is Raptor Strike, we have right here, which is a vicious slash that deals a bunch of damage. It costs focus, of course. This is basically like your focus dump. Like, if you have focus, you hit Raptor Strike, they take damage kind of thing. So, you know, that's pretty much what that is. And it's got a short cooldown. It's instant. It actually has no cooldown. And it's got a 5-yard range. So they have to be within 5 yards of you, which is melee range, of course. Very few abilities in this spec that I've actually done with the talents and everything. I tried to minimize the amount of ranged abilities because I wanted to make it as different from a ranged-based hunter as possible to try it out and give it its full kind of run through. So that's, you know, it's a good thing to have the Raptor Strike, because you're going to need a button to just smash over and over and over again. And the 5-yard range, of course, is standard across all melee classes. The Butchery does have an 8-yard range because it's an AoE. Explosive Trap. Survival hunters will now be the only hunters who have traps and the access to traps. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. Now, Explosive Trap tosses a fire trap. It's an explosive trap. Everybody knows what an explosive trap is. Let's move on. Okay, we're going to switch over to the talents. And in the first row, we have Animal Instincts. Flanking strikes also grant you the instincts of your pet for 7 seconds. So if you have like a DPS pet, which looks like a ferocity pet, it's probably going to be increased haste. If you have a cunning pet, it's going to be increased speed, is what it looks like. And if you have a tanking pet, it looks like it's going to be increased mastery. Whether or not that's going to be the way that breaks down as far as which pet gives you which passive is going to be interesting. Either that or all your pets have a chance of giving you one of these 3 passives. It's worded a little weird. So, yeah, it says provide one of the following combat enhancements, but they don't really say whether that's pet-based or if it's random. Throwing axes, which is an instant. You throw 3 axes towards the enemy. They do damage. It's a good pulling tool, but I wanted to go with as least range as possible. So, Way of the Mach-Nathal, which is what I picked. Raptor Strike also grants you Mach-Nathal attacks, increasing your attack power by 3% for 8 seconds, stacking up to 4 times. Now, you're going to be hitting Raptor Strike a lot anyway, so why not get a benefit out of it? Why not get extra attack power, was my thinking of it. So if I'm hitting that button all the time, I'm going to always have some extra attack power. I'm going to do more damage over time. It just makes sense to me. Now, this is in the level 30 slot, you have a lot of trap modifications, which I find interesting that they designated level 30 as basically what was going to determine how you played with your traps. Now you have Caltrops, which replaces the Tar Trap. Now down here, Tar Trap is a tar trap, obviously, and it lands and creates a 10-yard radius, a pool of tar, basically, around you for 30 seconds. When the first enemy approaches, you, it basically makes this big thing of tar. All enemies have a 50% reduced movement speed within the area of effect. Trap will exist for 1 minute. So that's kind of interesting. It's going to drop, it's going to make it tarry so people can't get around. Well, the Cal Traps replace that. And you scatter them on the ground in an area for 15 seconds. Enemies who step on them take some damage, and they have their speed reduced by 70% for 6 seconds. So they go slower and they take damage, which might be very good for soloing, because you're going to want that extra damage to come out, and you're going to want that extra movement speed reduction. I picked Steel Trap, which replaces the Freezing Trap, and it hurls a steel trap at the target location and immobilizes the first enemy that approaches for 30 seconds, so it's crowd control. It does a huge amount of damage, 60,000 almost, bleed damage over 30 seconds. Other damage may break the trap's immobilization effect, but You can only have one out, obviously, and the trap will exist for 1 minute. I find this to be the best one because I can trap something, it'll do damage to it while I'm dealing with other things. When it breaks the trap, I could probably trap it again, but it's got a 1 minute cooldown, so it'd have to be a very prolonged fight, that sort of thing. So, but I like it a lot though, because that added damage makes it, really good. And we saw that in the Paladin video as well. Like, you do damage while you're CCing something, and that makes a lot of sense because just crowd controlling something is good enough, but if you can deal damage to that crowd control and it won't break, that'll be really good, especially at level 30 when you're going to be leveling through those dungeons, because I know people use the random dungeonizer to level through to just get through the levels as quick as possible. That's going to help even more because nobody even wants to CC. But if you get into that sticky situation where you've probably pulled aggro as a hunter off of the really tank who doesn't know what he's doing, then you can trap him, do damage to him, kill him, not a problem. Lower level dungeons at this point in the game should not be any problem for any class to deal with. But there are exceptions to that rule, and this is a good get out of jail free card for when those exceptions occur. Now the one in the middle is improved traps, which has reduced the cooldown of freezing trap by 15% and the cooldown of explosive trap and tar trap by 50%. Basically, you're going to be trapping more often. Now, if you like using traps a lot, which I don't necessarily do, then it's good. I mean, it's a good flat half the cooldown for explosive trap and for tar trap, making them 15 seconds apiece. That's really good. 15% reduction in the cooldown of freezing trap, though, it's a 60-second cooldown. You're getting 9 seconds off. That's not really that big a deal. You get 15 off of both the other two. So that, I don't think makes it worth it, in my opinion. If it was maybe 25% off the freezing trap, then I think that would be better. But just 15%, not worth it for me. Now, level 45, we got to the movement speed section of the Hunter talent trees. So basically, at level 15, you get your damage bonus / new ability. At level 30, you're going to get trap utility. At level 45, we're getting speed. So post haste. Harpoon also frees you from all movement impairing effects and increases your movement speed by 60% for 8 seconds. Now, Harpoon is down here. It's got a 5 to 40 yard range, so it's a ranged ability. It hurls a harpoon at an enemy, rooting them in place for 3 seconds and pulling you to them. This is a really cool ability because now it allows you to close the gap on somebody really quickly. It's kind of like a reverse. Let's see. I could probably do it to a critter or something. Okay, yeah, it's a reverse death grip, and that's basically the way it looks. And it's going to evade, of course. So you get an increased movement speed, which is really nice. So I can run real fast while I can run really fast, obviously, right after I harpoon. Which, it's like, okay, I harpoon them. Say they, hop away or whatever. I can run real fast to catch up. It's going to be really good in PvP situations or highly mobile boss fights. Being able to get out of AoE, getting out of stuff by leaping to an ad or by leaping to a boss to get away from the ads. It's going to be really neat. It's also going to be neat in those little tricky things you do with, like, I'm falling off a cliff, let me harpoon to somebody and I'll get back up there or I won't take fall damage. I like it a lot. Harpoon, I mean. And post haste just makes it even better to me. Now, Far Strider is an ability passive. Your critical strikes have a 10% chance to reset the remaining cooldown on Harpoon. I don't think I'm going to be needing Harpoon that much, to be honest. It does have a 20-second cooldown, but that's not that long. And my critical strikes resetting it, they have a 10% chance of resetting it. That seems very, very unreliable. So I'd rather have post haste for the extra speed, because 20 seconds, I mean, I can drop a trap, I can, get out of there, I can heal myself with exhilaration, and then I'm going to have 20 seconds to get away with Harpoon if I need to. Now the last ability is Dash, which increases the duration of your aspect of the cheetah by 3 seconds, which brings me to the aspects. Now the aspects have gotten a bit of a change. They used to be buffs that went everywhere, and they lasted a long time, or they were just turn them on, turn them off, turn them on, turn them off. Well, now our aspects are limited time buffs with long cooldowns. So the aspect of the cheetah, for instance, has a 3-minute cooldown, increases your movement speed by 90% for 3 seconds, and then by 30% for another 9 seconds. So you're going to be going faster for 12 seconds, but you're going to go really fast for 3 seconds. Now, with Dash, I'll get 3 more seconds. Whoop-de-doo. I mean, it's kind of like Sprint for a rogue, except I think Sprint's cooldown is like a minute or 2. It's very low comparatively to that. So, not really anything I'm interested in. Now, as we look through the aspects, I don't think okay. There's definitely some aspects in here. Aspect of the Eagle is a 2-minute cooldown, grants you and your pet 10% increased crit chance with your abilities, and increases your chance on getting charges of Mongoose Bite by 100%. Now, remember how I said that Mongoose Bite was going to be like the end-all be-all, and you got to hit it as much as you can while it's up so that you can get as much damage? This is the ability that you hit during a boss fight, and for the next 10 seconds, Mongoose Bite's probably going to proc enough times to get you to that 6 stacks. And at 6 stacks, if you get more, it's just going to be max damage, max damage, max damage Mongoose Bites. So that's very good. So I like that. I like the aspect of the Eagle. And it's right here on my bar here. So it's got a 2-minute cooldown. Not too long of a cooldown, not too short. That's okay. 2 minutes is pretty good. I can use it every boss fight without a problem. I could use it in between on trashes if I need to, so it's very good. Now, the other aspect we have, which is brand new, aspect of the Turtle. Deflects all attacks and reduces all damage you take by 30% for 8 seconds, but you can't attack. It's kind of like Deterrence. Deterrence was like a stand here, and I'll deflect I'll parry everything, and I'll take reduced damage. It's exactly like that. They just call it something else now, basically. Of course, Butchery we saw, the Qual Pet there. Camouflage is another hunter ability that you just is talented in up here at level 75. We'll get to that. So moving on from the level 45 tier for movement speed, we have the level 60 tier, which gives you some utility and possibly another ability. A Murder of Crows, we all know what that is. 1-minute cooldown, you summon some crows, they do some damage. But now it's paired up with Mortal Wounds, which each time you lacerate deals damage. You have a 2% chance to gain a charge of Mongoose Bite, which is what we want. We want those Mongoose Bite charges. So I definitely took Mortal Wounds. Because Lacerate is going to do damage for 30 seconds. It does damage every... does damage over time for 12 seconds. So if it's bleeding for 12 seconds and then I hit it again and it's going to continuously bleed, the more I have that up, the more Mongoose Bites I'm going to get. And I like that a lot. Now, the third ability is Snake Hunter, which is an instant, and it's kind of a cheat. It's like I used all my Mongoose Bites, I'll hit this, I'll have all my Mongoose Bites back. It reminds me a little bit of Preparation, in the sense that Preparation puts extra combo points, or Premeditation I should say. Premeditation puts extra combo points on a target, and then you have those to use immediately. This is a little bit of the reverse to that, in the sense that I've used everything, and now I have 3 more. And it's got a 1-minute cooldown, which is pretty good, but it's another button to hit, and it may prove out to be the better of the two, but I feel like most people are going to take Mortal Wounds or Snake Hunter in this spec, because it's, obviously it's going to only be available in this spec. And Murder of Crows seems less fun than, when you're talking about a melee class type thing. Okay, now that's at level 60. Which, thinking back on level 60, I don't really think anything special will come from either one of these. There's nothing really. You're just working your way through dungeons, and either one of these is going to be good, and Murder of Crows will be a viable option as well at level 60 itself. Not really a problem. Now, level 75, we start seeing some of the new stuff that they put into this tree to be specifically for the survival hunter. Now, there's sticky bombs, which the Hurla can a concussive grenade at your target, which sticks to them and explodes after 3 seconds, knocking them back all nearby enemies. So that could be kind of neat. It doesn't say enemy, so it means I probably could attack this or attach this to like my healer. And so if there's enemies around my healer, it'll blow them backwards. That's kind of cool. I kind of like that. 40-yard range. It's a ranged ability, so I tried to stay away from those, like I said. But that seems interesting, especially because it's target. It doesn't say enemy. But it could be just enemy only as well. So it doesn't say one way or the other, which could be a little misconstrued. That's something for a future video that we could check out later. Now, Ranger's Net. This replaces Wing Clip. Now, Wing Clip is the same Wing Clip that it was way back in the day. You hit a target, reduce their movement speed by 50% for 15 seconds. Okay, perfect. But the Ranger's Net makes it a ranged ability with 40-yard range and 1 second cooldown. You hurl a net at the enemy, rooting the target for 3 seconds, and then reducing their movement speed by 50%. This is to prevent things from running away, which doesn't happen in PvE all that much, if at all. So, PvE, not really that useful. I mean, for ranged, I'm going to range this guy, then I'll harpoon him, and I'll be right on top of him. Fine. But in PvP, I feel like this is going to be really good. Because they're going to be running away. You're going to hit them with this. It's going to root them. Going to allow people to catch up and take them down. Camouflage is the other one. Instant. 1 minute cooldown. You blend in. You heal. 2% of your... you gain stealth for 1 minute. While camouflaged, you will heal for 2%, I assume, of your either maximum health or missing health every 1 second. So you're going to be healing quite a bit. It's a good heal. It's a good way to go in between combats. It's going to give you sustainability without having to eat. Going to make you level faster from 75 to 110. It's just a good overall utility. And if you're in a party that doesn't have a healer necessarily, like if you're just teaming up with a buddy, it's going to be good for you to just like, let me fade out real quick. I'll get some health back, and then we'll be good to go. Moving on to level 90, we have some interesting things. There's Serpent Sting makes a return. Targets hit by your Raptor Strike and Carve are also affected by Serpent Sting. So it just adds a layer of damage. It makes a Serpent Sting, instead of it being a shot, it is part of your abilities. It's like you poisoned everything like a rogue would, and like every time you hit them, they take extra nature damage. As long as you hit them with a Raptor Strike or a Carve. Pretty good. Now in the middle we have Dragon's Fire Grenade, which is a grenade. 40-yard range is another ranged ability. It hurls a Dragon Fire Grenade at the target. It explodes, does damage, and over time fire damage, and reduces the movement speed by 20%. The volatile flames on the target also scorch nearby enemies for a certain amount every time. So it's a little bit of an AoE grenade type thing. It's another ranged ability, so that's why I stayed away from it, because I was going away from ranged altogether. But you can kind of see that there's enough ranged abilities in this build, in this spec, to where you could play a half-ranged, half-melee type of spec, which could be really good. I have no idea. Nobody's really played too much with these to figure out, like, there could be a broken spec in here where you're half-ranged, half melee, nothing can catch you, nothing can get away from you, you can kill everything. There might be something in there, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens over the course of the expansion to see whether or not this becomes really viable or if it fails as an experiment to give hunters melee. That, of course, is assuming that they will ever put the survival spec back to being ranged focused, which at this point you couldn't put anything past Blizzard. They're going to do whatever is best for the game, whether it's changing hunters from being a ranged spec to being a melee spec for one of their specializations. Nobody really thought that would happen, and here we go. Alright, now at level 9, or the last one at level 90, which is the one I took, is Butchery. Replaces Carve. It basically just does more damage. Does more damage than Carve did, so that's why I took it. That's pretty much it. Now, at level 100, we have Spitting Cobra. Summons a Spitting Cobra. Attacks your target for a bunch of nature damage, and while the Cobra is active, you gain an extra 3 focus every 1 second. This seems a bit odd in the survival tree, because it seems more of like a Beastmaster ability. It seems more of like, I got it, give me another pet, give me another kind of animal I can control to help me defeat my enemies. So that seems kind of weird to have that in this tree, but could be very useful as well. Summoning that Cobra, gaining extra focus, you can do more damage, could be neat. Now, Expert Trapper is the middle one. This is going to modify all your traps. They're improved in the following ways. Freezing Trap. When its incapacitation effect ends, the victim and all nearby enemies' movement speed is reduced by 50%. So it's like having a Frost Trap and a Freezing Trap mixed into one. Now, Explosive Trap increases Explosive Trap's damage. Basically, it's just like it's going to do more damage. Fair enough. Tar Trap. Enemies moving through the tar have a chance to be rooted. So that's kind of neat. Kind of reminds me of Hex Totem or Voodoo. What is the name of it? Earth Grasp. Earth Grasp Totem. When you put it down, it just roots everybody. It was real annoying when enemies had it. Yeah. So then it also does Steel Trap. Your Steel Trap does an additional damage when it's triggered, and Caltrops, they increase their damage by 50%. So not only does it have the standard traps in here, but it has the ones you've modified. If you've modified them with other talents, it has those in there. Now, I took Aspect of the Beast. Passive. That was the key. It's passive. Flanking Strike causes an additional effect based on your pet's specialization. See, this one's clear. It's based on your pet's specialization. So the other one might just be random, but this one's based on that. So the target also bleeds for a bunch of damage if you have a Ferocity pet. If you have a Tenacity pet, it also takes 15. Your pet takes 15% reduced damage for 6 seconds. Very good. And if you have a Cunning pet, the target's movement speed is increased or is reduced by 50% for 4 seconds. So if you have a Cunning pet, you can slow them. Tenacity pet, you take less damage. Ferocity pet, deal more damage. This is going to be especially good for soloing, because that if you have a Tenacity pet out, you're going to take less damage. You can heal them easier. It's going to be very, very good. On the other side of that, when you're raiding, Ferocity pet doing more damage, that's going to be great too. That's just going to add to your DPS. It's going to make you more viable in a raid. And the Cunning pet, I mean, if you need to chase somebody down, you're having your pet do it. It's a real good way to do that. So that's the talents in a nutshell. Basically, we've gone over some of the aspects. Some of the more, staple abilities from the Hunter are still here, like Feign Death and Flare. There's my wolf just howling. Flare, of course, revealing enemies. Eagle Eye, seeing long distances. That sort of thing. Hatchet Toss, which is also here. Tosses a hatchet at an enemy, dealing a little bit of damage. It's your ranged puller. Not a big deal. Mastery is Hunting Companion. Your pet's attacks have a 9.7% chance to grant you an additional charge of Mongoose Bite. So you're going to want to stack Mastery. It's going to be like Agility and then Mastery. Because if your Mastery gets up real high, you're going to have Mongoose Bites all over the place. Now, Muzzle is a new thing that I didn't go over yet. Now, the Muzzle, it interrupts spellcasting and prevents any spell that's cool from being cast for 3 seconds. It's your interrupt. It's your cancel the spell, and that's all you need to do. So this is the pet utility bar. Now contains everything you need to know, similar to the way that traps work and similar to the way that call pet works. You pick what you need out of here. So you just put this down on a bar somewhere. I'm gonna put it, well, I don't have another bar open, but if I put it down here, you can see it'll pop open, and then I can heal them and whatever. But I can also, I can pull those abilities out individually as well, so that's still going to be good. So that's basically the Hunter. Survivalist is a passive that you have, and it's after you kill a target, you and your pet gain 15% over 10 seconds. I'm going to assume that's going to say, when the game comes out, a target that yields experience or honor, but right now it says any target, so we'll have to check that out in the future and see exactly what they mean by that. Now, as always, we are going to end the video like we always do with hitting some target dummies and take some damage, jumping around. I don't bother getting on my flying mount, so I don't really care. So, yeah, basically, we're going to start off back here. And, as always, we'll throw a see, the trap just kind of appears in front of you now. You can't even target it. But I think that's good because you're melee, so that's fine. So we put that there, and we're going to gap close with the harpoon, and then we're just going to start doing some damage. Mongoose Bite, Mongoose Bite, Mongoose Bite. Still have Mongoose Bites to use. And when the Mongoose Bite's down, I'm going to use Carve/Butchery. Flanking Strike gives us some more Mongoose Bites. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly how many you can get off in one cycle of the Mongoose Bite charges. See, right now I'm kind of out of them. I'm out of focus. Oh, right, I got to keep Lacerate up. So there's Mongoose Bite. If we keep that Lacerate up, hopefully we can get more charges. I just got more charges. I'm at 3 stacks, 4 stacks, 5 stacks. I got to 5 stacks of it before it wore off. So Flanking Strike, Butchery, doing the Raptor Strikes, Mongoose Bite, 2, 3, Lacerate, 4, Flanking Strike, 5, and 6. We barely got the 6th one off, but it was there. So I hope you guys enjoyed this spotlight video for the Survival Hunter. I think it's going to be an interesting spec to play, especially with this harpoon ability. I really like it. I can just kind of go anywhere I want to. And as long as I'm in range, I can harpoon to it. Very cool. Get extra speed. I like it a lot. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making it. I enjoyed looking at these new talents and seeing what's coming for the Survival Hunter. I'm going to put my pet on passive so he'll get back here. And make sure that if you like this video to hit the like button and subscribe for more content in the future. We're definitely going to have some more Legion videos coming your way, as well as some more Warlords of Draenor stuff as we prep for the Legion release on August 30th. Once again, my name's Terali. This has been the World of Warcraft Legion Beta Survival Hunter Spotlight video, and I'll see you in the next Midnight Run.